Okay, hold on. Let me pause my movie. Ugh. Hi guys. So I had anybody who ends up watching this. I'm so sorry. I'm not feeling very well. I have a stuffy nose. It's the night before I go back to work. Um. All right. So a little bit about myself. I realized I did a stream and with just kind of dove in headfirst without giving anybody an idea of what kind of person I am. I I don't want to put my real name out there, but my first name is Renee. You can call me that. I don't really care. Whatever. Um, in my first stream, I had some problems with lighting the lamp. Somebody had suggested turning it down. Unfortunately, it has only one setting, which is super bright. So I just turned it around. I hope that solves the lighting issue for right now. I need to look into getting a decent camera if I'm going to be doing the stream a little bit. I don't know how much. I don't know if I may lose interest. I don't know, but this is kind of fun. Um, so a little bit about myself. I found YouTube probably around 2009, 2010. I mainly used it to watch videos, for my favorite artists, stuff like that. I kind of drew away from it. I don't not because I wanted to, but because I didn't have internet access for a while. Recently started discovering it. I have some subscription stuff, to like K-pop groups I was listening to, although I'm a little out of the age demographic for K-pop. I found some of it interesting. Several of my favorite groups have disbanded, so there went my interest in that. And so many of the other groups just are so young. And with what I'm discovering about the K-pop industry is really concerning. It's not a it's not a pretty industry. One, from what I understand, I was reading somewhere, I don't remember what the group's name is, but one of the groups, their members actually trained for like years and years and years and were disbanded a year after their debut. Years of work put in. God knows what kind of hours. And from what I understand, they don't really make a lot of money. One of my groups that I used to listen to, Rainbow, I actually don't own any of their physical CDs. Um, but one of the groups, Rainbow, apparently most of the girls actually held other jobs in between comebacks due to the fact that they just weren't bringing in money because a lot of the money that they make goes to repaying the companies for the expenses that the companies put out to train them, and I just find that crazy. Like, and then some of these groups just are not promoted the way that they should be. Like, some of these groups had such potential, but then when you think about it, maybe it's good that they didn't become successful because now these people, these girls and these young men can go on to have normal lives. But then when you think about it, when you train from a young age to be something, it's very shattering for your group to just be disbanded very quickly. Um, so my last video, I talked about the whole Onision thing and some of the how I discovered him and how I got away. I didn't get away from him. I'm out of his age range. Um, just kind of how I unsubscribed and stuff like that. Well, the Chris Hansen had a psychiatrist on today, and I unfortunately did not get to see it. So if anybody wants to tell me what happened, I watched a little bit of it, but I had to go help my aunt for a little bit, help out with stuff. It's just concerning to me because shortly after my last live stream, hold on, I'm thirsty. My voice is sound. My throat is really dry. Um, okay, we're gonna. As I'm sure most of anybody who's even aware of the Onision thing, like I said, the quality of my camera really stinks. It's just my webcam. I don't have anything else. Maybe I should invest in one. The cheapest one I've come across is $43. But anyway, going back to Onision and stuff, he made a lot of videos in a very short amount of time. Sorry, I'm watching a movie. And his original meltdown videos were very over the top, very, very comical. Like, I've he's actually come out in another video and said, "If anybody believed that these meltdowns were real, you're an idiot." His most recent videos are him basically standing in front of the cameras for long extended periods of times, telling his side of the story. Okay, except that he continues to incriminate himself. I'm not gonna go word for word and watch them all because other people have done it so much better than me. Because that's I just don't have time for that. Um, I'm not a YouTuber. Um, I say a lot. I'm sorry. So what happened is he just like buried himself. He's deleted most of his stuff from his Twitter, which the internet always remembers. There's archives and screenshots. A lot of the grocery stuff is never going to go away. But his more recent videos, somebody pointed out, these are the meltdown videos where he's basically trying his darndest to salvage whatever he has. But then again, he's not really salvaging anything because I think he even in one of them like talked trash about his viewers. And I wonder if some of his viewers, like I know he has a Discord server, not on it, don't care to be. Um, what the hell? Like, I'm trying to think. I was gonna say something, I totally spaced out on it. It just really, it's very telling. Somebody said these are the real meltdown videos, and it very much speaks to his mental deterioration with how quickly these videos were coming out. I have this to say, I have this to say, I have this to say. And his complete mental gymnastics with just the way he speaks about how real victims act. Real victims don't talk about what happened to them. Yeah, we do. Now, that said, some victims handle it one way, some victims handle it other ways. But if they speak about it, they speak about it. If they don't, they don't. This is the same person who, when he was talking about the RAPE, he said straight out that people who are RAPED'd, if you don't go to the police, you are just as guilty as the person who did that to you. So that's directly contradicting what he says later in that, oh, real victims, they don't come forward or they don't say anything, they don't talk about it. Yeah, they do. And it's becoming, I think he's thinking of the fact that they don't come forward right away or da da da. I don't know. I honestly I can't even pretend to get inside his brain and the gymnastics and the like. Whew. Um, and then there's something else that's been going on. His spouse Kai. Everybody is. I think some people are saying that Kai is not as guilty as Greg because Kai was once a victim. That is true. However, Kai is now a grown adult. Is now an adult. And a lot of people are saying that, well, Kai was abused and that's all they know. And I really want to try and be understanding towards Kai. I really do. But they've sent, it's just, I don't know. Here's something. I don't think Kai will ever see this video. I don't think anybody's going to see this video except maybe the one viewer I have right now. um, if Kai ever does happen to see this video, get away from him. I'm not even kidding. Get away. Get away. It made like I said something on the video, not this video. I think it was a comment. I really shouldn't be doing this when I'm sick, so I'm gonna wrap it up. Uh, okay, that kind of works, I guess. Um, yeah. What I wanted to say to Kai: get away from this guy. Get away from your spouse. Get away from him because he has basically turned you into somebody that you probably don't even recognize in the mirror anymore. You have no idea who this new person is. You have two children, regardless, who, if he throws you under the bus, they're gonna, and he's gonna go. I really hope he goes to jail. I mean, he's already in trouble with the federal government because he destroyed wetlands. Hold on. I mean, he destroyed federal wetlands and then tried to rebuild them using plants from Home Depot. That's not how you do that. There's guidelines and stuff like that. Other people have gone into it much better than I have. But I think it's like $600,000 now. I could be off my estimate big time. I might be getting things mixed up, but correct me if I'm wrong. Um, at the very least, needs to go to jail for that and everything he's done to these young women. But Kai needs to face up to what they've done. They were a participant in this. Yeah. That said, I'm not gonna talk about that anymore. Anybody that comes into this stream, yeah, all one person. Feel free to comment, whoever's there. I mean, I'd like to see who my viewer is. Oh well. Um, hmm. But I mean, I'm not influential at all. Thank God. I can do all that stuff. Um, so something about me that I'd like to tell people, I'm really into true crime. I just actually got done reading a true crime book by an author called Greg Olson. It's called If You Tell. Sorry, it's flipping the title. I shouldn't even bother holding it up. I've always been into true crime. I used to read Anne Rule. I think I've got another one of this guy's books. I had there were a couple other ones that I read, and I can't think of their titles right off. There was one about the Green River Killer. There was another one about a guy named Randy Roth that I read. It was a true crime book years ago. It was an older book because a lot of what he did ended up happening in the 80s, 90s. I'd actually have to look it up. I don't have the book anymore. Um, this guy basically married these women, and now the only one of his potential wives that got away was his first wife, who nobody knew about, but was the mother of his son. They came home from church one day and he said straight up, "I want a divorce." And apparently she didn't. I don't know if she put up much of a fight or not, but like I said, I don't have the book anymore and the details are kind of fuzzy. Randy Ross' case was actually talked about in one of Anne Rule's books called A Rose for Her Grave. And I actually own that book. It's around here somewhere, but I can't dig it out right now. And then another book by Carlton Smith called Fatal Charm. I read that one twice. That particular book focused a lot on his marriage to Cindy. I can't pronounce her last name. I mean, it did go into his history and stuff like that. And Rule's book more outlined all of his relationships set with his first wife, who didn't get discussed until later. Um, this particular guy, he like I said, he married his first wife, divorced her, had a son with her, took custody of the son. Then he married a young woman named Janice, who had a daughter. And I think maybe a year after their marriage, she fell from a rock. Or yeah, while they were hiking. I can't remember what the date was. It was sometime in November. They were hiking, and she supposedly fell and died. And oh god, why don't I have the book anymore? And then there was, I think, two other women that he dated, and then one he married. And that marriage ended very abruptly because of a rafting trip where she was convinced while she was in the raft and her parents were in a raft ahead of them. He apparently was trying to steer the raft into dangerous water and she just like freaked out. So she didn't go home with him that day and she never set foot in the house that they shared again. After that, there was a young woman that he started dating. She had a few children. I think she had 5 or 6. I'm not sure how many actually. And he sat down with her one day and was discussing marriage and discussing life insurance. Well, this young woman had a situation where she was uninsurable because she had had cancer. And when she told him that, she said the next day everything changed. He was no longer romantic, no longer sweet, like the sex dried up, like that. So, what ended up happening was she left, she moved out, and ended up having to fight to get a lot of her possessions back. Simply because she had started moving in with him, she'd actually moved in. And as soon as he found out she wasn't insurable, it was like everything dried up, like romance gone. And this was a pattern for this guy. Um, as soon as he married Janice, the same thing happened. In fact, many people reported Janice saying that she was starting to regret her marriage, but never mentioned divorce because she was a very young woman. I don't even think she was 30. Anyway, and that's the thing that all of his wives had in common. They were very young, they usually had children, they either had a marriage or had been widowed. His last wife, Cindy, she'd been widowed. Her husband had ended up with lymphoma, I believe it was, and died very young. With the survivor's benefits that she got for his 2 boys, their 2 boys together, she didn't have to work. She could afford the rent and everything like that. And that's why he honed in on her, because with his second wife, Janice, he actually signed up for and was receiving survivor's benefits for the child, a daughter that Janice had left behind, despite the fact that Janice's daughter had gone to live with her father, her biological father, who was still alive. Like I said, that marriage had ended in divorce. Randy had a habit of seeking out women who were had broken relationships or had like in with Cindy widowed. So what happened with Cindy was he started dating her. They got married. Once again, that he turned into a totally different person. Like he doesn't even maintain the facade for the year that he has to stay married because he planned it out. With each of his wives that ended up dead, he kept them in their lives just long enough so that he could claim that the stepmothers stood as a parental figure to his son. And as such, he could claim survivor's benefits for his son because he wasn't just getting survivor's benefits for uh Janice's child. He was getting survivor's benefits for his child, his son, for from Janice as well because supposedly I don't know how it works, but I just remember reading that he was getting survivor's benefits for his son as well as his stepdaughter. Although I don't know if she would really appreciate being referred to as a murderer stepdaughter, so I apologize. For Janice's daughter. Well, what happened with his last wife, Cindy, they got married. He changed right away. And there were indications that she had actually thought about leaving him before, once again, she died. They went out to a beach day at a lake in Washington. Most of Anne Rule's books take place in Washington because she had worked as a crime writer, I think, for a magazine there. You might also know Anne Rule from the book The Stranger Beside Me about Ted Bundy. Oh god, I'm getting really stuffy. I'm so sorry. So they go out on this raft. And now the way that the Carlton Smith book starts, it starts with Randy paddling very slowly the raft. The boys are her 2 boys, Cindy's 2 boys are on the shore and they see Randy coming, but they don't see their mother. When Randy gets to shore, very leisurely, he tells them, "Go get a lifeguard, but don't make a scene." I think something like that. And then they look in the raft and their mother's in the bottom of the raft, clearly in distress if she wasn't already gone by that point. And a lot of people in the book, both of the books I read, said that Randy's demeanor was very calm. They thought he might have been in shock. No, he just didn't give a damn. And this is something that really gets me. Like, he wasn't even smart about what he was doing. He stayed married to them just long enough so that they could get insurance and that he could claim survivor's benefits. He wanted those 2 boys' survivor's benefits, so the boys were never in any danger because he needed them alive to keep receiving those checks. What he didn't know at the time was that in Cindy's will, when she passed away, he wasn't getting those boys. Cindy had a best friend whose name I think started with an L. I don't remember what her if her name was Laurie or Laura, and she got the boys. Oh, he was furious, and like I said, he wasn't even very smart about it. Like, he would romance them and be just so romantic, this really tender, the perfect lover, and then as soon as the ink before the ink was even dry on the marriage certificate, changed completely. You can't even maintain he couldn't even maintain the facade. It's like, eh he was stupid. It does make me wonder, though, when I read these books, I remember thinking times, like, if he just faked it for a little while and maybe faked, like, some kind of marital problems, maybe he thought he didn't even do that. Just, "Oh, they died in an accident." First wife died in an accident. He said that she was hiking and she slipped, and at the time, people were suspicious but didn't really think about it because nothing like that ever happened, da, 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 da. And then what happened with Cindy, right away there was investigation. And when they searched his house, see, there's so many details I can't remember, and I really need to get a hold of these books again because I feel like if I had the books again, I could bring up particular chapters and just read these out, like how incredibly dense this guy was. Like, even if all he had to do was fake that he still loved these women for like a year. Oh, tragic loss. He didn't even it's like he didn't even stop to think that, "Oh, I can't keep doing this." Like, I know he had one of his best friends rob his house for him so they could claim insurance on the new stuff. And I think he had a friend do it more than once or something like that. And when they searched his house after Cindy's death, they found, like, all these stolen tools from some of his other jobs. Because while he wasn't a job hopper, I mean, he kinda was. He very much stuck to particular jobs, like cars, that's the thing, he blew through the insurance money quick. Back then, the insurance money that he would have gotten from his first wife should have lasted him a lot longer, but he went out and blew it, like expensive men toys. I hate to say that. Just blew it, blew right through it. And then with Cindy, see, I can't remember what happened to that, but things kinda happened with that, and then it later came out that he'd been romancing one of his neighbor's young daughter, and I think that's why I'm kinda bringing this up in terms of with, the Onision thing, is th Randy had known his best friend for years, and he had a step I think he has the guy had a stepdaughter. And Randy started grooming the stepdaughter, being very nice to her, but then he would coldly cut her off when he would get with a woman, and she couldn't say anything because she didn't want her dad to be mad or anything. Like I said, I need to find these books again. I know the one by Carlton Smith is called Fatal Charm. The one by Anne Rule is called A Rose for Her Grave, and it was mainly because Cindy loved roses, and there was actually a picture in in the one book of her standing by a rose bush. I think was she the one who did rose or was Randy into rose? No, he didn't seem like the type. But like I said, it's been a little while since I've read them, so some of the details are fuzzy. Um, but this guy Greg Olson that I'm also reading, he kinda goes in for, um, the lesser known cases, except for the one. There's one called that he wrote called Bitter Almonds, which is about a woman named Stella Nichols, and she had poisoned her husband by buying a thing of a pill bottle, some pain relievers, and spiking them with cyanide. But in attempting to make it look like it was random, because I think this was around the time that, aspirin was getting spiked, she went out and bought another bottle. I think she bought both bottles at the same time, but I can't be sure. I have to reread the book. I have it around here. I have it there. Um, and an innocent person died because she wanted to make her husband, another innocent person's death, look like the work of that Tylenol person that was doing that. And, like, her family life was insane. But Greg had did the Bitter Almonds book, then he did this one about a woman named Shelley, Knotek. I can't pronounce. I don't know how that's pronounced. Notek? But it's basically told from the, perspective of her 3 daughters who grew up with that. And then another book he wrote, which was one that, while fascinating, was also one that I don't think I'll ever read again, called Abandoned Prayers, about a Amish man whose wife dies, who was pregnant, and I think his barn burned down as well. Yes, that's actually how he said his wife died. Um, she had passed away, and then he just up and left the Amish community and everything, and then his son was found dead. His son actually went unidentified for a while, and then when they started looking into what happened to the boy, then it somehow led back to the boy's father, Eli. I think if I'm not mistaken, Eli Stutzman, and he actually died recently. And then there was another book that he did with a woman named Rebecca Morris called Killing in Amish Country, with once again a young man who a young Amishman who was using personal ads, I think, because those still exist, to hook women in and stuff. I've only read that one once, so I might have to read again. I have a copy. And then there was another one that he wrote with Rebecca Morris called If I Can't Have You, about the Susan Powell case. And I think that's a pretty well-known case, so I don't think I need to get into that. But for those who don't know what it is about, Susan Powell was a young Mormon woman who went missing one night. And her husband and his father were probably involved. But before he could be arrested, despite a lot of evidence, circumstantial, I believe, because they never found Susan. Um, her husband Josh Powell, blew up their house with him and the sons, her children, inside the house. All 3 of them died. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe his father recently died in prison. I mean, one can hope. And I think not long after that, his brother also died because they think that he might have been involved as well. Um, in case anybody can't figure out, I'm really fascinated by true crime and stuff like that. But I'm also really into history. I'm reading a book right now called The Lost Tudor Princess. Sorry, I don't even know why I'm bothering to show the titles, because they just get turned around so that you can't even see it, I think. I don't know how it's coming out on your guys' end. Anybody who might watch this. Yeah, okay. It's the life of Lady Margaret Douglas, who, for those who don't know, Lady Margaret was the daughter of Margaret Tudor, who was the sister of Henry VIII. So Margaret Douglas was his niece. And until he had a legitimate heir, she was actually, I believe, next in line after him. Now, this was only because both of his daughters had been declared bastards. Um, Lady Mary, and well, who later became Queen Mary, and then Queen Elizabeth I. Obviously, she never ascended to the throne, but being Henry VIII's niece brings with it its own sort of insanity. And I'm not really that far into it. I think I'm on page 86. I've been reading it for about a week. I just really haven't been drawn to it. But I'm gonna stop rambling. I wanted to be a little bit more about who I am. I hope I kind of gave you guys, yeah, all one of you, um, a little bit about who I am. I hope to do more. I think maybe from now on I should do videos instead of live streams because I say a lot, but I don't have like an editing program or anything. And until I get a better camera, maybe I just shouldn't do this anymore. But I don't know. Um, ugh, this really makes me self conscious because I'm looking at my screen and I really should be looking up, and it's like driving me crazy. And I'm so sorry if it's off putting. All right. Um, I don't remember what else I put the title for this for. I just some random talking about true crime and what I like. The whole thing with Creepy Greg, that sort of thing. Um, yeah. All right. I'm over it. Bye. Yes, I want to end it.